රිවයින් කරන්න පුළුවන් නිසා මුකුත් මගේ වෙන්නේ.
BOTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Good evening tonight. All clear. The Attorney General gives the green light to the President's Secretary to disclose Section C350 from the Bond Inquiry Report. Stopping brutality. President Maithripala Sirisena highlights the need to tackle shameless ragging at universities. Deficit of trust. Former Defence Secretary pins the downfall of the Rajapaksa regime on false propaganda. And in international headlines, another tragedy. Celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain takes his own life. In sports, trouble with pace. Sri Lanka slumps in face of West Indies pace bowling in the first test. It's 9 o'clock on the dot. This is First at 9 on Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny. So much of information is unraveling with regard to the money exchange between Arjun Aloysius and members of the House. We'll get right to that story soon. Also, we'll have information on the apparent suicide of celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain. That's coming up later on in the show. But first, the Attorney General has informed the Secretary to the President that releasing Section C350 of the Bond Inquiry Report will not impact the ongoing investigations into the central bank treasury bond scam. The Presidential Secretariat stated that Secretary to the President, Austin Fernando, had sought advice of the Attorney General on the issue, and accordingly, the green light was given to proceed with releasing the documents.
President Secretary Austin Fernando sought the advice of the Attorney General on releasing certain sections of the Bond Inquiry Report which had not been released previously upon requests by various parties. Accordingly, the Attorney General today informed the Secretary to the President that releasing Section C350 of the Bond Inquiry Report will not impact the ongoing investigations into the central bank treasury bond scam. In the meantime, the issue of parliamentarians taking money from Arjun Aloysius was discussed in Parliament today as well.
The Attorney General has informed that members of the COPE has had direct financial dealings with the accused in the bond scam. So as justice to the country, please remove them and inform their parties to name replacements to COPE in case these members fail to withdraw on ethical grounds. Appointments are made by the parties and have already informed what you said to party leaders. You made a statement yesterday that the IGP and the CID informed you that they did not summon police officers assigned to parliamentarians and conduct investigations. But it was revealed in court yesterday that questioning security officers of a state minister and a parliamentarian led to information on more checks. So, if the IGP and the CID concealed information from you... No, that's not the case. What I said yesterday was that 25 security officials are being questioned and it's a separate investigation. The IGP said that if any names pop up during such, we would be informed. Honourable Speaker, there is a news circulating in social media that powerful figures of the government called the IGP and Shani Abesekar of the CID to Parliament and informed them not to submit B reports. If it did happen, I request you to give attention to the matter.
Meanwhile, the issue of parliamentarians accepting money from Arjun Aloysius was brought up in several media briefings as well.
Dayasiri Jayasekara says he accepted $1 million and Sarath Fonseca says he took 100,000 rupees. But criminal charges are not brought against them. That, however, has happened to Ravi Karunanayake. So I asked the likes of Shani Abesekar at the CID, why isn't Ravi Karunanayake arrested? Sujiva Senasinghe, who even published a book on it, has taken 3 million. Are they being arrested? Only a recommendation is made to the President by a Presidential Commission. So the President has the chance to disclose in Parliament all documents which were recommended not to. Whether sums accepted by those who have taken money, declared it in their asset declarations, should also be investigated. I will not respond to comments and allegations made by various people.
In the meantime, Commissioner at the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, C. Neville Guruge, said that the Commission is yet to receive a single complaint against members of Parliament who accepted money from Arjun Aloysius.
We haven't received a complaint, so it cannot be commented. If a complaint is lodged, we will investigate and take measures to file cases.
Meanwhile, State Minister of International Trade Sujiva Senasinghe, who has accepted that he received 3 million rupees from WM Mendes, a subsidiary of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, held a special media briefing today to clarify the circumstances of the manifestations. He said that he is ready to return the sum of 3 million rupees if required.
The election was held in August of 2015. As per the information I got, the first cheque was received in that August, second one in October and the third one in the April of 2016. Accordingly, it is clear that this was some manner of support given for the election. There are a group of professionals who are my friends who help me during elections voluntarily. They're the ones who handle the finances of the campaign. In 2015, we didn't have information that WM Mendes Corporation was a subsidiary of Perpetual Treasuries Limited. Around 30 to 35 million rupees is spent for an election campaign. I would have never taken the risk to receive a small sum of 3 to 4 million rupees. We got these cheques after we won the elections. The COPE was not active during this time. It was a cash cheque. My friends had given this to a security officer over security concerns. If the leader of our party or the Speaker of Parliament says I have made a mistake and it is better that I withdraw from politics, I am ready to do so.
Well, the national convener of Rata Surakamu and Social Activist Council, Krishma Wandrasurya, said that necessary regulations and a mechanism must be put in place to promote transparency when it comes to parliamentarians receiving funds from corporates for political campaigning during the election period. Now, Wandrasurya was speaking to Indivari Amwath on our program at Hyde Park on the controversial bond issue and the 118 MPs who allegedly accepted donations from Perpetual Treasuries Limited for election campaigning. He further went on to say that as per the Right to Information Act, there is no legal impediment in sharing the missing pages of the bond inquiry report with the public.
I think if we move on to talk a little about something hotly debated in Parliament is continues to be debated in Parliament is about the bond report, the Commission report and of course the bond scandal. If we talk about the report, I think there's talk about certain pages of the report going missing. But under the right to information, what's the possibility that we can demand for these information that have gone missing?
In my opinion, I think which is corroborated by a commission of the Information Commission also, none of those the information that so-called missing pages comes within the exceptions that can be restricted. For example, law is that you and I have a right to information. Right. It's in the Constitution. There is Right to Information Act. In terms of the Act, if we ask for, we have to give information. But under Section 5 of the Right to Information Act, and also in this occasion Section 3(2) may also kick in, be it applies to where certain parliamentary privileges may be breached by giving that information. But Section 5(2) has several exceptions under which, like national security,
right,
or if it's of such a personal nature to you or me that there is no public interest in giving that information, then in certain situations like that a decision can be made not to give that information. None of those exceptions are pertinent with regard to the Bond Commission report. If it was asked for, it should have been given. Now the question is not that. The question is, even if this information comes to light, you were talking of the bond. No. Now we are also now talking of one man of the many who has come out and said, I took $1 million. Then there is another gentleman who said, I took 1 lakh. My question is not that. What about the other billions that would have been given to others that we are not talking of?
I think about the 118 parliamentarians, they talk about them. Now they say that they will file affidavits and enlighten us about this, because this is something, is that even possible?
Parliamentarians, you don't need to give affidavits. I think this is a whole media exercise. When a member of parliament, members of parliament are bound by parliamentary privileges, and it is considered a breach of a parliamentary privilege under section 22-23 of the Parliamentary Privileges Act. Under Schedule A, if they have, by presenting to parliament or to any committee, any false, untrue, fabricated or falsified document with intent to deceive parliament or any committee, they have breached the parliamentary privilege. And upon trial by the Supreme Court, they are given a chance to come and explain why did you say this lie. And if they are found guilty, they can be sent to prison for not less than 2 years, not more than 2 years. So, if giving affidavit or not making a false statement to parliament is a breach of a parliamentary privilege. So, to that extent, in my opinion, they don't need to give an affidavit. They can go to parliament, stand up and say, here, I declare that I did not take money. And if they have lied, then they can be found faulty.
Right, and talking about funding politicians, corporates and individuals funding politicians, is it even possible? I mean, how does it happen elsewhere? But now this entire issue is about funding politicians. That's how this has come out.
So, party funding has to be regulated. In the 21st century, we can't expect everyone who comes into politics to put their own money and come into politics. Definitely, there is going to be funding by corporates, and that happens across the board. It happens, but we have to regulate it. Make it accountable so that the country knows where the black money, millions are coming, who's paying whom, how much of money are these fellows actually taking, are they actually using it for their campaign or to buy their wife a Land Cruiser or something, and those things have to be accounted for.
Now, for the full interview, you can tune in to At Hyde Park, hosted by our very own Indivri Amwatha on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. That's coming up tomorrow at 6:55. Make sure you tune in for that program. Let's move on. President Maithripala Sirisena is adamant that ragging, which has become a common sight at universities, should immediately be brought to an end. The head of state said that a common program should be launched with the participation of all factions towards this end. Ragging has become a serious concern, with some victims developing mental illnesses after being subjected to the dubious and at times cruel practice. The president spoke on the subject while addressing a function held in Bandarawela today.
Upon an invitation by Netmini Vidyani, a student of Bandarawela Madhya Mahavidyalaya, President Maithripala Sirisena arrived to Western newly built 3-story building with the students.
Ragging faced by new university students during the past 2-3 months is brutal. When new students are asleep at their hostels, senior students sneak in and assault junior students, inflicting physical damage. The media telecasted some similar incidents. This is done by students who are only 2 years senior to their victims. Politics is behind this brutality. This is student terrorism. Victims never complain to authorities. These deplorable acts are done to strike fear into students in a bid to prevent them joining other political parties. These actions have left them with mental illnesses and disabilities, with some ending in death. The government, together with students, parents and teachers, must face up to this brutality.
In the meantime, an iftar event, also known as the breaking of fast by the Islamic community, was held at the President's official residence yesterday under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena. Many religious leaders and devotees of the Islamic faith participated at the event, while a copy of the singular translation of the Al-Quran was presented to the head of state.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa pins the blame for the defeat of the Rajapaksa regime on the deficit of trust brought on by external and internal forces. He says that a wedge was driven between the regime and the country's Islamic community by those forces. Speaking at an iftar event in Colombo today, the former Defence Secretary went on to say that members of the Rajapaksa regime is engaging with the Islamic community to repair the damage and to seek solutions to their issues.
It is no secret that there were strong efforts by various parties, both in Sri Lanka and abroad, to drive a wedge between the Mahinda Rajapaksa administration and the Muslim community in Sri Lanka. This was done in very organized manner. Actions that were instigated to cause unfortunate incidents led to a perception that the Muslim community has a cause to be wary of the Rajapaksa administration. But sometimes I agree we could have done certain things differently, not giving opportunity for those opportunists. Unfortunately, the false impression created was so strong that we were unable to convince many in the Muslim community about the sincerity of the Rajapaksa administration. Soon, we may have another opportunity to continue that journey of progress. We have engaged in continuous dialogue with the religious leaders and the elders of the Muslim community, and will continue to discuss the issues that trouble you, the fears you have, measures that can be taken to resolve them.
The General Sir John Kothawala Defence University Special Provisions Bill was tabled in Parliament today. The bill was tabled by Minister of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. It seeks to lay down the national policy relating to the absorption of students registered with the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine or SITEM to the General Sir John Kothawala Defence University.
The General Sir John Kothawala Defence University Special Provisions Bill, which was tabled in Parliament today, seeks to absorb those students who have obtained basic qualifications from among the students who have registered with the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine between the period commencing from the 15th of May 2017 to 15th of September in 2019 to the university to follow the study program leading to the award of the MBBS degree by Sir John Kothawala Defence University. According to the bill, basic qualifications include students with a minimum of S grade pass in chemistry, physics and biology at the GCE Advanced Level Examination conducted by the Examinations Department of the Ministry of Education. Equivalent foreign qualifications to that of the Advanced Level Examination who have offered the subjects chemistry, mathematics and biology is also counted as a basic qualification. Views were expressed at Parliament regarding the bill.
2 weeks ago, a promise was made that this bill would not be tabled in Parliament. We made a new bill for Sir John Kothawala Defence University. This is not that bill. This is regarding an amendment to the Act to absorb students from the Medical Faculty of SITEM to KDU. Why are all of you making things complicated when you have already found a solution? There is no such complication. There was an issue before, but we were able to resolve most of the issues and hold discussions with relevant stakeholders and come to an agreement so we can provide justice to around 900 students. There is an issue here. As for the minimum entry qualifications, are you planning to have the minimum entry qualification of 3 S passes for the subjects in the future as well? This is a national problem, and what we have here is the most practical solution.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone on to Business News. The Association of Information Technology Professionals is of the view that Sri Lankan companies are at a disadvantage should legal issues arise pertaining to agreements entered into with Singaporean companies. Raising concerns on the Singaporean-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, Secretary of the Association, Lasantha Wickramasinghe, added that this is due to the procedure of international arbitration. These views were expressed at a media briefing held in Colombo yesterday.
Singapore is already a tariff-free country where the imports are allowed to enter into Singapore without any tariff. But Sri Lanka is not such country. We have tariffs and we have waived these tariffs from this agreement, but instead of that, Sri Lanka has got the list of goods which has been already eliminated from tariffs in Singapore. Access to government contracts. So this is the first time that Sri Lanka allows foreign contractors to bid for Sri Lanka by an agreement. And also, it is very pathetic that when there is a problem in these agreements, so there is a process called arbitration, because we cannot have a judge panel of Sri Lanka to conclude such problem arise during an agreement. So in that case, we have to go for international arbitration, and one of the international arbitration center is Singapore. So if we had a problem with a Singapore company, that will be raised under the Singapore Arbitration Center. So Singapore Ministry consider it as a great protection for their investors. Only thing that the government can achieve by this agreement would be when there will be a crisis in our balance of payment situation, they will have to sell our national assets, and also government-owned state institutions will have to be privatized. In that case, this agreement has given opportunity for Singaporean companies to buy those national assets via these agreements.
Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, Captain Suren Rathwate, has decided to take an early retirement. The national carrier announced that the CEO has decided to retire early in order to facilitate the restructuring process of the airline. The announcement comes days after the Presidential Commission appointed to investigate financial irregularities taken place at Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka commenced recording evidence. The airline yesterday said Suren Rathwate has handed over the letter of resignation to the chairman of the airline, Ranjit Fernando. Captain Suren Rathwate assumed duties as the Chief Executive Officer of the national carrier on the 16th of October in 2015. Let's take you to the stock market now. Shares fell for a third straight session today and ended at a more than 5-month low, and the all-share price index ended 0.14% weaker at 6,354.92. Its lowest close since 26th of December. Turnover was at 326.2 million rupees, while the foreign investors brought net 12.5 million rupees worth of equity shares today. The market, however, has witnessed a year-to-date net foreign outflow of 554.6 million rupees worth of shares. Now, here is Stefan D'Alves from NDB Securities for a full report as to how the market performed during this week.
The ASPI lost 0.7% and the S&P SL20 lost 1.2%. The average daily turnover for the week was down from last week to 567 million rupees. The diversified sector recorded the highest sector turnover during the week.
Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, breaking across the world just a few hours ago, a celebrated chef, a best-selling author and a famous media personality, Anthony Bourdain, has committed suicide this morning. He was at the age of 61 when he allegedly committed suicide at his hotel room in Strasbourg, France. Eric Ripard, one of his close friends, found Bourdain unresponsive in his hotel room early in the day. Bourdain was in France working on an upcoming episode of his award-winning series Parts Unknown. Bourdain was a master of his craft, first in the kitchen and then in the media. Through his TV shows and books, he explored the human condition and helped audiences think differently about food, travel, and themselves. He advocated for marginalized populations and campaigned for safer working conditions for restaurant staff. Along the way, he received practically every award the industry has to offer. Bourdain also did several pieces on Sri Lanka in his famous series Parts Unknown and also on No Reservations, which was a breakout hit, earning 2 Emmy Awards and more than a dozen nominations.
Of the hotel is nothing compared to the pressurized environment of this
daredevil on the road, but don't worry about it. He's never got an accident.
Right, and then how do I eat this? So pick it up like a boat?
You can eat it however you want. I mean, you know, you can break it apart, you can put the stuff inside and just roll it up.
In other international stories, Washington's top diplomat Mike Pompeo says that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had personally informed him that North Korea is ready to give up its nuclear arsenal. The Secretary of State is the most senior U.S. official to have met the North Korean leader and a key figure in preparations for next week's historic summit. U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, said that he would consider inviting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to the White House if their summit in Singapore goes well.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Japan.
And if the summit does go well, will you be inviting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to the United States?
Well, the answer is yes to the second part of your question, but certainly if it goes well. And I think it would be well received. I think he would look at it very favorably, so I think that could happen.
Sir, if you do invite him to the White House, or to the United States, would it be here at the White House or at Mar-a-Lago?
Maybe we'll start with the White House. What do you think? So I am totally prepared to walk. It could happen. Maybe it won't be necessary. I hope it won't be necessary to walk. Maximum pressure is absolutely in effect. We don't use the term anymore because we're going into a friendly negotiation. Perhaps after that negotiation, I will be using it again. You'll know how well we do in the negotiation. If you hear me saying we're going to use maximum pressure, you'll know the negotiation did not do well, frankly. There's no reason to say it. We, in the meantime, haven't removed any sanctions.
In the meantime, speaking later at the White House, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had indicated to him personally that he was willing to denuclearize.
What I have said publicly is he has indicated to me personally that he is prepared to denuclearize, that he understands that the current model doesn't work, that he's prepared to denuclearize, and that, two, he understands that we can't do it the way we've done it before, that this has to be big and bold, and we have to agree to making major changes. We can't step through this over years, but rather need to acknowledge it will take some amount of time.
Now, sports. Today is the third day of the first Test match in Sri Lanka's tour of West Indies. The host put on a commendable 414 runs for 8 wickets before declaring yesterday and had a splendid spell with the ball to reduce Sri Lanka to 31 runs for 3 wickets at stumps. Sri Lanka is currently 123 for the loss of 5 wickets.
West Indies made the most of the first 2 days of the match, where the pitch was expected to be the best for batting. Resuming the day on 246 for the loss of 6 wickets, the host declared after extending their total to 414 for the loss of 8 wickets.
Wonderful. Oh, that's gone for base.
The innings was spearheaded by the unbeaten knock of 125 by Shane Dowrick, with Shai Hope also helping with 44 runs. Lahiru Kumara was the pick of the bowlers for the visitors, picking up 4 wickets for 95 runs. Coming out to bat, Sri Lanka lost quick wickets and at the stumps found themselves on 31 for 3.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures will range between 21 and 33 degrees Celsius over the course of the day, with the highest temperature recorded in the eastern region of the island. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that there is a high precipitation zone, particularly in the central region of the island as well as the vicinity of Colombo in the next 24 hours. Now, sunny weather is forecast for most of the northern region. However, some thundershowers is expected in the cities of Trincomalee, Mannar and Vaunia over the next 24 hours. Moving downwards, however, we can expect some thundershowers in the cities of Colombo, Galle and Kandy. That is it from your weather centre tonight. Up next is your City by City forecast.
It's Friday, time for the good story of the week. This week we want you to meet Lilo, the husky, and Rosie, the kitten. This is a story about the husky adopting a stray, feeble and dying kitten, saving her life. Nobody thought that the 2-week-old Rosie would survive, but husky's warmth and help made her grow up strong. This duo sets an example of how differences can empower each other. That is such a cute kitty. Well, that is Other Than First at 9 for this Friday. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the weekend. Good night.